Hello, welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Rachel, I'm married to John and we live in London. I am honoured to be freshly back from a wonderful cruise on the Sky Princess. I really wanted to understand a bit more of the behind the scenes, how things work, and I've really enjoyed the content that I've seen on YouTube, so I wanted to add to that and share my own experience. And it is a privilege to get to share an amazing trip. We did a transatlantic cruise from Southampton across via the Azores onto the Caribbean. We did 2 Caribbean islands and then we went on to Fort Lauderdale. So we are not on a boat, we are in my kitchen in King's Cross with a copious amount of notes. You may be familiar with these as the patter, which tell us what is happening every day. And so for the benefit of you, because I really wanted to see something like this, so hopefully you can benefit, I wrote down both what we'd hoped to do but also the actual things that we did. So I can now give you the overview. This isn't going to be exactly what you could do on the Sky Princess or on any princess ship, but it gives a flavour, excuse the siren, it gives a flavour of what you might be able to do, and for me that was what I wanted to see, so hopefully that will be helpful for you. So I'm going to take you through a day at sea and a day, hypothetically, on shore, as princess are really good. In my experience, the port times are really good for when you get in and when you leave. I'll kick us off with what our mornings look like. So generally our mornings looked fairly similar. I found having one thing to kind of anchor our day was quite helpful. It did mean that we were getting up at a similar time, because day and night can just become a blur. You don't even know what day of the week it is, let alone what time it is, when you can just go and get food at any point. So we found doing one thing first thing helpful. You could do sport. We chose to do a Bible study, which was an unhosted event. Somebody had gone to guest services, said, please could we host this? And they gave them a space. This could be, I can see one here, there's knitters and natters get together, there's also an AA group, you know, there's whatever people want to host, princess are happy for you to do that, in my experience. So that was really enriching. I can't tell you how much we enjoyed that. We would then either have done breakfast or go on to breakfast. We could have done it in many locations, but we commonly went to the buffet area so that we were able to kind of take it at our own pace and just try different things, and we really enjoyed that. We would often go back and have a nap. Genuinely, I just found I was sleeping so much on this cruise. I don't know what was going on, but I needed sleep, and everyone else was upstairs getting toasted on the top deck, and me with my fair skin was just chilling in bed. Meanwhile, there is so much sport going on, there's quizzes, there's movies, there's lots happening. We did do a couple of quizzes, I think. We did win the Disney one, well, joint one, to which we won a bottle of champagne, which was very generous, very kind of Princess. We also won a game show later on in the week. It was the Yes No game show. We had a lot of fun. It's those moments on the ship. If you're kind of vaguely interested in something like that, you can go along and just have a laugh, and it's, you know, half an hour and you're kind of done. You can potter back to your room. Again, you're probably between 5 and 15 minutes away from wherever it is, so it's sort of not that much of a commitment. There was live music sort of everywhere, which I loved. I loved it so much. So if you also enjoy live music, you could basically float around the ship and just follow the music. This particularly gave us incentive to go to the International Cafe for lunch. We really enjoyed that, I can't tell you, because you're sitting in this beautiful venue, you are listening to amazing music from wonderful, kind, chatty, lovely musicians, and you get to eat some lovely food. What's not to win? Of course, there are so many other places that you could be eating, but that was something that we particularly enjoyed. How about a class, I hear you say? Well, we did. We did a steel pan class with Tyrone and Jean-Luca. They were great. We really appreciated that. When you get the chance to do a music class with something that you just aren't going to go out and buy a steel pan, unless you're sort of my husband and do crazy things like that, but it was really exciting to get somebody to teach us that, and we did that a couple of times. And other classes with Jun, we did the line dancing, which I really loved. That was often at different times, so again, you'd keep an eye on your patter and it would come up depending on the day, depending on if you were in port, where and when you would be doing it. I think it usually was in the Vista Lounge, and we would stay there and dance through an afternoon slot, work up quite a sweat, and then go and crash out back upstairs. So again, maybe at this point we would hunt down some more live music. We particularly enjoyed the music of Cassie Mathews. Her and her husband were on board, and oh my days, it was good. And I mean, so much, honestly, I can't say how much we enjoyed the music that was on offer. Maybe we would go up to the top deck, we would go get some ice cream. Again, this was included. There was fancy ice cream downstairs, but there was the soft serve upstairs. Maybe go to the gym. You might not think that sounds fun on holiday, but when you are eating quite the energy density that we genuinely wanted to work up an appetite and enjoy feeling active and feeling the mental health benefits of working out as well. And it was a super well equipped gym. I felt really at home, even though talk to me 2 years ago and that was a whole different story. But it was really, yeah, I don't think you could have wanted for anything else. There was people, PTs around. You could have got a bit more help, and there were sessions on and stuff. But we really enjoyed going there. We tried to go every other day. I think we probably managed it, maybe not including the port days. I think it was for the children, but as there were next to no children on board, they kindly let us go into the young people and teen areas, so we were able to play table tennis, and turns out I really love skee ball, and we also had some good games of air hockey. It was just a lovely atmosphere. There was lots of people up for going. If you went on your own, there'd be people that you could play with. It turns out some of the friends we'd made were also really up for this, so it was just so much fun. Okay, so we are at the afternoon midpoint, so afternoon tea definitely gets a look in. The joy of sharing afternoon tea with a largely American and Canadian cohort of guests was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being on a big table and just talking about Britishisms and quirks and sharing stories over a cup of tea and cakes and scones and sandwiches. I mean, what's not to like? It was very fun. We didn't do it every day because it was, again, the quantity of food. It was sort of like fending off people to try to play with cakes. I think some of the quality had suffered a little bit just because there wasn't so many of us on board, so I think numbers were a little bit difficult for them. But again, it was afternoon tea on a boat. I'm so happy. Yes, please. As you can tell, there has been a lot of activity. We did fill our days. We did wonder, what are we going to be doing? You know, what happens? But this is what happens. And we could go back to the room, we could sit and read. We kindly got upgraded to a balcony by the lovely people at guest services, as again, there wasn't that many people on the ship. We went down just to find out how much it was, as we understand that the cheapest place to get an upgrade is once you're on the boat, and you can kind of think, is it worth it per night? Is it worth just staying in an inside cabin and going up and sitting out on the deck and having the motivation to go up and enjoying the super darkness of an inside cabin? But they very kindly upgraded us for free, which was so generous. We had an amazing time, and yes, now I really do want to go back and book a balcony for our next trip. So that was, opening the curtains to the ocean was spectacular. So we are heading towards evening. We could have done a run or walk around. You can go a certain number of times around the top deck, and that is a mile, so you can kind of get some level of activity in. And we really enjoyed going up there to see the sunset. And we would then try and get a little window when everyone who'd been out sun lounging had kind of seen the sun set and then moved off to go and get ready for dinner, and we snuck in and got to swim in a basically empty pool and just go around and hang out in the hot tubs. And they were playing some beautiful footage up on this kind of like massive mobile phone screen, and we really enjoyed just splashing around, having fun, basically having the place to ourselves in this instance. It was incredibly jammy and we had an absolutely wonderful time. Would recommend. That was quite the experience, to then throw something on, scuttle downstairs to then get showered and dressed up nice if it was a formal night, or just kind of throw on something fairly respectable to go down for a normal night, shall we say, for dinner. I have names here of who we ate with, and it just brings back so many memories. We met some truly wonderful people who, you know, that like handprint on your heart stuff. It's just special. I feel if you're going on a cruise, you're a certain kind of person, and it means that you probably will get on with the folks there. I don't know. However it works, it was wonderful. So we would dine just ourselves on a formal night, just so it was a bit more date night and we could enjoy each other's company more focused. But on all the other nights, we agreed to go to a shared table. This would be different every night, and you could kind of ask to be the same people, but we liked meeting new folks and we really enjoyed the experience. So you could be eating in Cello or Estrella. There's a whole load of places elsewhere on the ship, but for the formal nights we would alternate between those two, and pretty much the only thing that was different was the decor. But we really loved both. One was slightly closer, so we would go to Estrella more, and then we would have a 3-course meal every night. Does bread count? That would make it 4-course. And again, they were small portions. It was very fancy. Again, it was food that had survived on a ship, so it's not going to be the same as if you walked out to a restaurant in London tonight, except there is an exception to that, which we will come to. But it was still really good. So if you can understand that they've made it on a boat and then the presentation was incredible, then yeah, the food was really, really lovely. Dinner really was quite a feature of the trip. So if you don't like fine dining, then again, flag wave. You could just go to the buffet or eat in the place where you get hot dogs or pizza slices, or even there's a whole place that does proper, really high quality pizzas, and that could be where we had an amazing lunchtime. You know, there are amazing places to go. You don't have to do the fancy dining. Sometimes before dinner, maybe after dinner, depending on times. We didn't do this every day, but we did love going to have a little dance, especially on formal night. We could go where they put some music on and there was people doing proper ballroom and proper waltzing. We know Ciroc. We did it at our wedding as kind of a fun first dance, and we had a real blast. It was lovely. We have practiced in this kitchen going up and down, and let me tell you, it's spacious for a London flat, but not for Ciroc dancing. So we really enjoyed throwing some shapes and just messing around on the dance floor. Just lovely to get to know some of the other couples and just have a nice time dancing together. It was just, oh, it was great. I want to go back. So, okay, evening. We're not even like remotely finished here. This is mad. What a day. We're not even on to the day at port. What is happening? Oh, I just want to go back. Can you tell? I'm just excited myself. Right. So we then got to go to the theatre. Now there was 2 showings. We would try and go for the early one, but often we'd end up going for the late one. Going across the Atlantic as we did from Southampton to Fort Lauderdale meant that we gathered hours as we went, which meant you end up with no jet lag, and you also can stay up late and get up at the normal time for breakfast, and you don't feel like you're missing out on any sleep. Cheating time to mean that we could go to the theatre late, usually because we were eating and chatting and enjoying ourselves too much. But oh my goodness me, from what I've researched, I understand that the Princess offerings are very good as theatre performances go on a boat. We loved what we saw, honestly. I was astounded at the high quality, and I would say I have a level of musicality. This is where I wheel out the grade 8 violin once upon a time. So I appreciate when things are well done. And the house band, it was great. So good. We had a blast and would highly recommend it. I think if you know you don't like comedians or you know you don't like magicians, then obviously don't go. But if you like pop culture level, somebody singing, you know, Britain's Got Talent, you get to see all the good ones. It's that kind of somebody's brilliant at what they do and they just get to show that to you, and we get to soak it up and absorb all the good things. Sing the words again with me, a strange duet. I have often walked down this street before.
It's been a pleasure hosting this show. I'll see you back in here every night. One more time, give it up for the fantastic Westenders. See you later.
Oh 9, 4 and 14, that's 58. Position number 5, we put a nut. The interesting thing is, position 5, I wrote something down.
Theatre would probably be the highlight of all of the wonderful things that we enjoyed. The thing that we kept looking forward to would be that. Comedians for me, again, I'm a very, very sensitive soul. They're not blue, they are family friendly, but because they are family friendly, they sort of go for the next thing. If they're not being very naughty, they'll go and marriage bash, and so that was just a bit like, oh, probably not for us, but still was funny. Understood that it was for an audience that isn't me and could still enjoy it. So if I can still enjoy it, I think that's saying something. Honestly, the Westenders get a particular shout out because they did a kind of Q&A session, and one of them very kindly answered my question of how do you keep going or bounce back after hitting a pothole in your career, and I can very much say that that was me asking from a very honest point of view, and they gave me a really, really helpful answer. They were very honest, they were really helpful, and their performances were great. After the show, we would be buzzing, we would be so excited, so we would either head to more music. There was lots going on around the ship. We really enjoyed seeing Cassie again, just to duo were her and her husband performing in the evenings. We'd usually wave or like dance on one of the floors above them in the main piazza, and so that kind of a bond and that kind of a shape to the time that we were on the boat was so special. We enjoyed going up on the top deck. A lot of the folks were of the older demographic, so we would be able to go up and have the place to ourselves. Sometimes there was even people rehearsing for a show the next day when they were doing those things with cocktail glasses and juggling, and so we kind of ended up with our own show. It was such a calm, beautiful way to wind down of an evening. So we are coming into land on a day at sea, what kind of things we might have been doing, but a special mention must go to, oh my goodness, we managed to go to one of the fancy restaurants that you pay something like £20–25 a head extra, and I thought that would be great for maybe an anniversary or something special, but something I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to do just on our first cruise. We were very happy with what we were getting everywhere else. But oh my goodness, would I do it again? 100%. Did I have to pay for it this time? No, because there was a very small admin error regarding one of the classes. I would argue that I was just feeling awkward and trying to like get myself out of the situation and be like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Anyway, they sorted us out, and oh my word, again, I don't want people to take advantage of Princess because it's not okay, because they were very generous, but I'm very appreciative of it, and so I will say they have my trust because they treated us so well. When there was something that could have been better, they made it so. Wow, we were in for such a treat. It is literally, to this day, the best meal I've ever had, and it is the most food I've ever tried to eat, ever in my life. It was so intense, but wonderful as well. I have no idea how they did this, because how you make that food that good when on a boat is just mind-blowing. But we went to Sabatini's, we were treated like royalty, we were given amazing food. I particularly remember there was a deconstructed pizza for one of the courses, there was a lovely fish dish, there was an amazing chocolate ball pudding, goldfish bowl madness, and a trio of amazing pasta dishes. We had an amazing time. We also went upstairs to the room, fell asleep, and then came down and watched the show. We were so full, but very, very happy. Somewhat more briefly then, what could a day at port look like? Well, we were going from Southampton all the way across via the Azores, so we stopped off at Ponta Delgada, and then we went across to the Caribbean. So we did Antigua and we did Saint Martin before we got to Fort Lauderdale. So I really didn't want, on my first cruise, to miss literally the boat. So I did want to go with the Princess excursions. Traditionally they are more expensive. I don't know that there's that much in it, particularly when you kind of take into account your time researching and the time stressing. I really appreciated being able to go on one. I will drop in the description box below some other ways in which you can book excursions and still kind of be guaranteed to get back before the ship leaves. They do this all the time, they are familiar with that, but there is still a risk. If you're out on your own and you haven't quite clocked the clock change and the boat goes an hour before you think it is, then it might be worth being on the bus with the ship folks, and they're gonna look after you and get you back in time, so you don't have to participate in the blood sport, which is people up on the top decks watching to see who is running to get up the gangway. Anyway, that thankfully did not happen to us. We got off at Ponta Delgada, and so we had an overnight here. So we got there and could kind of go off and explore in the evening and then go out again in the morning and then come back, and we sailed at kind of 1:30 in the afternoon. We did an excursion out to some botanical gardens. We were shown around. Again, you could have walked and just gone there, potted around, but having someone tell you all about the plants was, in my eyes, definitely worth the money and made it a bit more of a trip. We then went on to a pineapple farm. I learnt loads about pineapples and what's a real pineapple and a fake pineapple. Who knew? There was so much to know. And on to a place where it should have had a really beautiful view, but had we done our research, we would have realised it was November and therefore you wouldn't have got to see much. But we were still in the bus, having a look around, being driven around and not having to rent a car somewhere and stress about how we were going to get somewhere in the roads and parking and all that jazz. So even though it poured with rain and we couldn't see a thing, we had a nice time. So that was the excursion, and of course we could potter around. We went out and found some Wi-Fi, enjoyed a cafe, potted around the shops, got our fridge magnet. I think I even have it, look. Ta-da! There we go. Proof we went to the Azores, and pineapple appropriate. Just for funsies, this is also our Caribbean magnet. I figured if ever we do the Caribbean again, we can't just have a whole fridge covered in the Caribbean, so this encompasses all of them. There is Saint Martin and Antigua, and it was great. So you could have done your own thing, but we booked it with Princess. They dropped us off a little envelope that then had our tickets, and that was what we then needed to kind of get on the bus and know whose we were when we were being picked up and taken back. We really enjoyed doing the swimming in Stingray City with stingrays. I have a whole vlog about this if you'd like to see it. It was amazing and would highly recommend it. Really, really special. And we also did a zip line. I believe it was the steepest in the world. There was a whole set of ways in which you could explore this mountain. We did it in a tube, we did it going down a massive zip line, and we did it kind of zip lining between mountain tops. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to take my GoPro, so I'm so sorry that you'll just have to imagine that content. We did also enjoy being driven around and getting to see and feel what the places were like we were visiting. Of course, the Caribbean is known for its beaches, so you could just get off, go find a beach and park yourself up. We found, being fair-skinned, we were much more suited to being put in a vehicle and taken somewhere, which we enjoyed. But again, you could just do your own thing. You could go out, get coffee, come back on the boat and get food. It was completely up to you what you did, and we had a great time. We did go to one beach. If you are going to do those things, I would say definitely research where you're trying to go, because sometimes the port is actually quite a bit further than you might think from the beach where it's touristy and sandy. But we really enjoyed the adventures that we had at port. As you can tell though, it was definitely competing with the incredibleness that was the bonanza of the Sky Princess. So that's a bit of a flavour of what we did as young things scampering about the boat and the Caribbean and the Azores. So thank you so much for joining me. If you want to see a little bit more of, for example, our day getting on board and off, then those vlogs will be linked below, as well as the others that I mentioned, and you can join us for going to Disney World and Universal. I'm so excited. Yes, we did it, folks, we did it. Please join. If you haven't subscribed already, this is your moment. Please press the red button and join in this mad adventure, and the like button helps me and the YouTube algorithm know that this is content worth watching. Thank you so much for joining me. Any questions, I'll see you in the comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Take care. God bless. Goodbye.